Hello and welcome. This is Politics Today. I am Deji Badimasi. Now, everyone had said his victory was inevitable, and that is exactly what happened. The former governor of Kebbi State, Saidu Dakingeri, is back as governor of the state. He has been declared the winner of the rerun election which took place 24 hours ago. Landslide now is not an appropriate word to use to describe his victory. You surely would need a better superlative to describe that victory. Now, he polled a total of 875,492 votes. The candidate who came second, that is of the CPC, actually polled a meager 17,918 votes. So you see the difference. The ACN candidates in the election now came third with a total number of 4,650 votes. Now, here is the catch to the story. Both the CPC and ACN candidates had defected to the PDP before the election. So even though there were other candidates contesting, Mr. Dakingeri was effectively running against himself because the CPC and ACN were the two only political parties that were expected to give Mr. Dakingeri's PDP a run for its money. We understand Mr. Dakingeri is already in Abuja waiting to get his certificate of return from INEC. That may happen tomorrow, and after that, Mr. Dakingeri will be sworn in to complete his second term. We'll now go over to our correspondent Lucky Sawade, who is on the line from Burning Kebbi for more update on the story. Lucky, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us what exactly is happening in Burning Kebbi. Are the supporters of Mr. Dakingeri celebrating?
Yes, the whole city of Burning Kebbi is in a celebrative mood at the moment. The supporters of Alhaji Saidu Dakingeri are celebrating the victory. But the candidates of the All Nigeria People's Congress has rejected the results, saying it is a sham, going by the low turnout experienced in most parts of the state. He says the result is a sham. But curiously, the CPC chairman in the state has accepted defeat, that the party was responsible for its poor running at the polls, having its candidates withdrawn 10 days to the election. And they said the problem is not with the PDP, but with the CPC itself, for the internal crisis they've experienced in the last few days before the election.
Now, for Mr. Dakingeri's supporters, you say they are celebrating in Burning Kebbi right now. It would appear they were surprised that he actually won the election, because most people had thought, well, they were only waiting for some kind of official confirmation because they all knew he was going to win this election, considering the fact that it was more or less a one-horse race.
Yes, it is so. And that is why before the final results was announced, we were waiting to get the reaction of Alhaji Saidu Dakingeri, only for us to be told that he's already in Abuja, so that he can pick up his certificate of return by tomorrow. So it shows that he already knew that it's a one-way thing. In fact, some respondents in the state believe that it is a case of Dakingeri versus Dakingeri, because there was really no opposition going by the results turned out by the Chief Coalition Officer.
So this was more or less like a referendum. But let me just ask you this. For INEC itself, would you say INEC, you observe the process, how would you rate INEC's performance?
INEC did pretty well, because I even spoke to the PRO of the Kebbi State Independent National Electoral Commission, and he said none of the parties who defected had actually communicated to INEC that they don't have a candidate. So INEC had printed the ballot papers ready for the election, and they felt it was a ploy to derail the election, which has been planned for today. As at this evening, even after the results were announced, I spoke to the Public Relations Officer, Abdullah Bello, in Burning Kebbi here, and he said not a formal letter has been written to the Commission concerning the election, whether they were boycotting or they are going to withdraw from the election. All they just noticed was that at the field yesterday, some of the parties did not send their agents to the polling units, but that did not in any way invalidate the conduct or the outcome of the election.
Let me ask you this finally. To that ANPP candidate now who is protesting, is he going? Has he said he'll be going to court? Because we're talking about a candidate now who came forth, a distant fourth.
Yeah, he has not said he's going to court. He just said the low turnout of the election shows that there was really no election. But he has not really said categorically if he will be going to court. All he just said is that the election was marred by voter apathy.
All right, thank you very much, Lucky. Thank you very much for your reaction. And please stay out of trouble. We expect you back tomorrow. Our correspondent, Lucky, is out there who's been covering the election in Kebbi State. And let's just remind you that that election has been won and lost. The winner is Saidu Dakingari, the immediate past governor of the state. He's coming back now to complete his second term. He polled a total number of over 800,000 votes. The person who came second, the CPC candidate, got just 17,000 votes, and the man who came third, well, 4,000 votes. That's the candidate of the ACN. But I should also let you know that both of them, I'm talking about the ACN and PDP, CPC candidate now, I should say. There you have the results. Now, the candidate of ACN and that of CPC actually defected to the PDP before this election. 10 days before the election, they defected. Do not forget, this election happened as a result of that court decision which nullified the election of Saidu Dakingari. Now, the CPC actually went to court to challenge the previous election and eventually got judgment. Unfortunately, its candidate defected to the PDP 10 days before the election. Let me bring in my panelists here now to weigh in on this development. Mr. Onyekachi Ubani is a lawyer and a political analyst, and then Mr. Wale Ogunade is also a lawyer and the president of Voters Awareness Initiative. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program.
Thank you, Deji.
Is this a surprise to you that Dakingari won the election? Concerning the fact that he was effectively the only candidate running.
Yeah, because he's rightly pointed out that he was the one running against himself. In fact, he stopped short of saying that he was returned unopposed. Maybe in future we will prescribe that INEC may not waste taxpayers' money in conducting such a so-called election if it's discovered there are no opposition to any political
So what should INEC do? Just go on and declare?
That may be the issue of infrastructure is key to this country. The issue that people are not getting dividends of democracy, and so the scarce resources you have. I'm not sure how much must have been spent in this. It will be in millions. We should probably put those money into better use, rather than wasting these resources most of the time in conducting an election in which there is no serious opposition. Because to me, there is no from the word go.
I mean, this election was ordered by the court. Would you say it was a waste of time that INEC should not have organized the election? INEC should just have gone ahead to declare Mr. Dakingari the winner.
Well, it sounds hilarious. But again, to all intents and purposes, when you look at it on the surface, that's what it is. But again, I guess on a more serious note, let's look at the issue. It's akin to somebody stealing, and you collected what he stole and said, go away, without any punishment. The guy will go back and steal.
Well, the punishment is that he had to go for
a rerun.
And give
the punishment.
Another 4 years.
And go for another 4 years.
Of course, he's not going to go for another 4 years.
Whichever way, he's not going for another 4 years because he's gone. The law has now been settled on that. Yeah. But where I'm going is that there must be punishment for misdemeanor, or else the culture of impunity will continue. This is they went to court. The law court declared that yes, there's an infraction. There's a misdemeanor that has happened. Indeed, some people has run foul of the Electoral Act. But that there must be a punishment, and of course, it's a political party that sponsors. So that political party must be debarred.
So what would have been the appropriate?
That's
punishment?
what I'm saying. The political party,
stop Dakingari from running.
Not Dakingari now. The political party that sponsors him and him, the candidate, will be stopped, so that it will be a deterrent. What is happening now is I look at it.
That would be asking for constitutional amendment.
Well, that's where we are going. So the more reasons where I'm going. That's the more reasons why we talk Nigeria. You see, each time we go to anything and we say anything, we get to the point that indeed you find that there is a lacuna, there is a challenge, there is a problem, and the only way you get is an amendment of the constitution, and you cannot continue to patch it. All these things is we will continue to run away from the reality. The reality is that we must stop Nigeria. Let's look at it. This man, the 5 of them, the 5 rerun that you have had now, who cleared the tape? PDP. Whichever way, they are on ground, and the election has been skewed in their favor. System and events and everything is in the favor of the incumbent.
When you say skewed in their favor, how?
In the incumbent now, they are not INEC, but they control the state government. They control the state apparatus and resources.
I understand what you're trying to say perfectly well, but is it a surprise to you, Mr. Obani, that 10 days to the election, 2 candidates from 2 different political parties who were considered, very tough candidates would choose to defect to the PDP?
No, maybe they saw the light. There was a particular this in the story of a man said, now I was blind, but now I can see. Maybe 10 days to the election, they discovered that they may not make so much impact. A situation where the political party that is in power, that's PDP, deployed all the entire machinery. Abuja, at the time, also closed shop and relocated to KB in order to campaign for the governorship candidate and using state resources. And so when you look at the entire scenario and probably you weigh your strength, you weigh your capacity, your financial capacity, and you may not in any way match with the machinery that these people have deployed, the best thing is for you to see the light and then get converted. So they got converted at 10 days to election.
I have to ask you both to react to this. I mean, quite surprising that candidates who actually took part in the previous election, the one that was ordered, that was cancelled by the court. I'm talking about the governorship candidate of the CPC now. He went to court to challenge the election of Dakingari. The court upheld his, his suit and ordered a rerun election. And then that same candidate decided on the eve of the election to defect to the PDP. Abandon his...
The man has seen the light. But apart from seeing the light, the party CPC has no financial muscle. They don't have the financial muscle of the PDP.
To compete with PDP.
Where would they stand? PDP. So the man, instead of him to jump into a sinking boat, decided to go to where his bread will be buttered. His political sagacity to him, that was expedient, and the best thing in the situation was for him to jump ship. But again, it's a bad lesson because it shows that you do not believe in what you are doing. Because if you are the one who took the party, your opponent to court, you fought. Well, maybe the man again is looking at this principle of he who fights.
If we can have the results, I want us to take a look at the results now. Let us look at the results. As I said, difficult. If I can have that slide,
unexplainable.
It's difficult to come up with the right superlative now to describe this result. There you have the result. The PDP candidate there. That's Seydou Dakingari polling 875,492 votes. Now, the man, the CPC candidate, even though he's a member of the PDP now, he still got 17,000 votes. And then the AMPP man who is complaining now, surprisingly polled just 2,538 votes. You think if this man now decides to go to court, he has any case at all?
But he withdrew. He withdrew before the
AMPP.
No, it's on the papers.
That he withdrew
before the election.
Well, he's already complaining.
He's on record that he went. To me, maybe again, is politics of notice me. That's one of the abracadabra.
But are you surprised that for both men now who pulled out of the race, like that of the CPC now, getting 17,000 plus? Does it mean people didn't know he had defected to the PDP? There was not enough.
If you go to the rural area, definitely. The information haven't gone around for the people to know that this man is no more there. And of course, there are some people who don't forget. There are two sides to a coin in politics. Some the party, some the individual. So there are some diehards who say, well, whichever it is say this person, it is this party. So to that extent, those who voted for the party may have counted for. And
it's not surprising that the CPC chairman of the state has come out to accept and concede defeat.
When his candidate has seen the light, so I'm sure he also will join the light.
The PDP convention may have come and gone, but the talking point still remains. Now, both the opposition ACN and CNPP have hit hard at the party. While the ACN refers to the process as a kangaroo convention, the CNPP says it is the beginning of the rigging of the 2015 general election. We are trying to get in touch with the spokesperson of the PDP, Chief Olisametu, to join us on the program. program while we try to get across to him in Abuja. Let me bring you in here. The PDP convention, it's come and gone. We've seen reaction. The ACN describing it as a kangaroo process. And then some people have been asking, is the ACN any better at all? Should it be criticizing the PDP? Is this not the case of the pot calling the kettle black?
I entirely agree with you. But we must also situate this issue. PDP produces the leadership of this country at the highest level. That's at the national level. As I speak to you today, PDP is controlling over 20-something states in the federation. And so as a citizen of this country, I'm interested in what goes on in PDP. Because they have boasted that they will rule this country for over 100 years or before, until Christ comes. Now, if that political party does not evolve a democratic principle, the issue of internal democracy, in the way they choose their leadership, one is very worried. I remember that the man that emerged as the chairman of that political party, that is Bamanga Tuko, lost election even in his zone. And I was very keen because that means it's going to be a keen contest. So I was looking forward to that convention, and I watched that convention with keen interest, expecting those people that may have indicated interest.
11 of them.
Yes, that would be a very free and fair election, in which probably the person that happens to be the best person will emerge, thereby teaching Nigerians that we must begin to evolve real democratic culture. But alas, what did we see? We now saw a situation where people were asked to step down. Whether they like it or not, the truth must be told. Despite the promises of the man that planned that convention, and that is my brother Ojo made a promise that it's going to be an election and that people will really contest that election. We're looking forward. Even the president himself said he's not going to interfere. But at the end, we saw some people crying, even on the heat of the entire thing, saying that, look, we still owe loyalty to PDP. I'm still loyal to President Jonathan and other, stop short of saying, look, we are forced to step down. I don't think that PDP has really taught Nigeria any less, even though one agrees that ACN is not in a better position to begin to call PDP black, because they also fall into the same category, because most times of their own convention is also handpicking, even though we talk about whether it is same injustice that produce somebody. But the point is this: let's begin to do right things in this nation. Let's begin to internalize what we call democratic principles, so that we can export it, because you can't give what you don't have. If we cannot get it right at the political party level, then there is nothing we can get at the national level. And it's very obvious that if you don't internalize what we call the democratic principle with the political party at their level, at the national election, you don't expect anything better. It's going to be manipulation all the way, because they have perfected it at that level. So it is important we do that.
Let me ask you this. Right, were you surprised that Alhaji Mamanga Tuko emerged the chairman of the party? Because all this while, trace the history of this party now back to 1999. Whoever the sitting president backs emerges chairman of the party.
Audogbe Gemade, who is this other man?
All right, let me try to join Mr. Olisa Metu now. Mr. Olisa Metu is actually standing by. He's a national spokesperson of the PDP. Mr. Metu, tell us what your reaction is to all the criticism now that has trailed your convention.
Well, it's expected. When you are strong, when you have strength, the tendency is for people to criticize you. But I think we are not really understood. I think the perception out there is quite wrong. The convention conformed completely with the laid down principles of democratic principles, and is totally in line with the practice all over the world. Our convention is one of the best conventions that you can see anywhere in the world. We have delegates, we have super delegates. They take decisions on who to support and what happens at the convention. Right now, some of us that went through this election, we have not recovered from the rigors of the campaign. We actually campaigned to these delegates.
You campaigned, and at the end of the day, it turned out to be, a consensus. The whole thing just ended in a consensus, at least effectively.
Let me explain to you what consensus means. Consensus means that at the day of the convention or the day of the election, the candidates would have known the day before or in the morning whether they were going to succeed or they will not succeed. When you come to the convention, you will know whether the delegates are going to support you. You will know that by knowing where the super delegates are going. If you want to be a state chairman, there is no way if the members of the House of Assembly, members of the National Assembly from that state, the local government party chairman are not supporting you. In the morning of the state convention, of the state congress, you would have known, and if they are not supporting you, why should you bother? So when you withdraw, they now say there's a consensus arrangement. It doesn't mean that you didn't try. You worked very hard to get their support, but they didn't support you.
And it doesn't mean that you were actually forced to withdraw.
No.
How then would you explain what the reaction of Chief Ebenezer Babatokwe when he came out to announce he was withdrawing?
The politics is a very tough thing. You will get emotional, you will get sentimental about the outcome of any election. When you work so hard, especially when you come highly recommended and with the kind of credentials that Chief Ebenezer Babatokwe comes with, you will normally expect that the delegates and the super delegates will want to support you. But when it's obvious to you that maybe you don't get that kind of support, of course, it's normal that you will get emotional about it.
Okay, let us talk about the position of the national chairman now. Are you effectively saying the other 10 candidates decided to withdraw on that day just because they saw the super delegates were not going to vote for them? They saw where the super delegates were going. They were not forced to make that announcement.
I don't know about the 10 other candidates. I don't know about the 10 other candidates. I know there were some other candidates. You see, when you're going for an election, a convention, some people buy the form, some people want to be noticed, some people want to run, some people actually want to negotiate for something else. So that the candidates that are serious-minded, that those that are not. So to explain 10 candidates, 10 chairmanship candidates is surprising to me. But let me explain to you, there were candidates that were actually a bit more resourceful than the other ones. Now, nobody was forced to stop campaigning. Nobody was forced to stop his campaign. Nobody was forced to step down. But is it not better for you to go for a consensus arrangement that end up getting 12 or 200 votes when the other candidate is getting 4,000 votes? You see, what we did that day is that by the time the candidates will notice, you will ask the candidate, are you willing to go for this election? And if it's obvious to him that he's not going to win, he will tell you, no, there is no need. I want to support Chief Alhaji Dr. Bamanga Tuko, because I can see that the delegates are supporting him. And let me explain something to you. It is completely democratic. It is lawful. It is legal. It is morally correct for a governor or the president or a state chairman to support any candidate of his choice.
And it also follows that whoever the president or governor supports will definitely win, right?
Well, there are super delegates, even in America, even where we borrow our democracy in the United States of America, they have super delegates. They have super delegates all over, even in South Africa.
No, I'm just asking because it's like it's been the tradition in your party. It's been the tradition right from 1999. Whoever the president backs for the chairmanship of the election automatically wins it.
The president does not wake up to back anybody to come and be national chairman of the party. Of course, I can assure you that all the candidates have gone to the villa to visit the president. They have gone to campaign. They have gone to present their own credentials. That campaign, they've done argument that he should support them. He will look at it. He will take a lot of things into consideration. What you should concern yourself, or Nigerians should concern themselves about, is about the experience of our national chairman, the experience of the person that the president and the other super delegates ended up supporting. What about his experience? What about his exposure? Look at what he stands for. He's a founding father of PDP. He's widely traveled. He's exposed. He's experienced. Highly experienced, and he's highly recommended. He has integrity.
Mr. Metu, let me just ask you this question finally. Is it true, and I want you to confirm, that the man who is the youth leader of your party now is about 60 years old?
Let me explain to you. Is there anything in the Constitution that says a man cannot be woman leader? I'm asking you. There is nothing in the Constitution of PDP that says a man cannot be national.
I get your point, Mr. Metu.
There is nothing in the Constitution that says it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with qualification.
I get your point, Mr. Metu. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Olisa Metu there, who is the spokesperson of the PDP. He's actually the National Publicity Secretary of the party and one of the new officials who just got, should I say, elected or chosen at the convention now.
As a publicity.
But you want to react to some of the issues he raised?
Yes, I just want everyone to know everyone is entitled to one vote. So I don't understand this contraption again about super delegates.
No, there are super delegates.
Super delegate, whoever the super delegate is entitled to one vote. You may say he's a super delegate in that he can pull and influence people to vote. Okay. But again, those are all the issues that we have, again, in the Nigerian political scene, that they want to, there is a contraption. They want to turn politics around in Nigeria. That's not how politics is. Politics is a game of numbers. Even from his statement, you find out, talking again because it's a beneficiary of the system. I remember this Olita Metu the other day, when in the Southeast, some few months ago.
He used to be the national vice chairman
in the Southeast or something, and he went on the rooftop when something happened, and they wanted to muzzle him out. He too knows what we are talking about. Injustice. And this injustice, politics is about choice. It's about the people.
Funny enough, we're saying this is injustice, but nobody is complaining.
No, people are complaining. They muzzle them out.
I'm saying the candidates, for instance, the chairmanship, the national chairmanship candidate who withdrew, they are not complaining. None of them has come out to say, they were actually forced to step down.
But somebody did. You mentioned.
No, I'm just saying they are not complaining.
They are complaining.
No, you see, so some of the complaint may be very muzzled. He may not hear it. But the walls have ears. We are aware that what took place at that particular convention was not really democratic in the real sense of that word. And let me say, sir, if you go to developed countries today, as I speak to you, the economy, the politics, even the military, they are being run by young people. Then I don't discard the issue of old people being, at the back in order to give the the backup, the guide and all that. But in Nigeria, it's opposite. It's only the old men that are in front and the young men. You mentioned the youth man, the youth leader, now who's 60 years. And Metu is telling you, is there anything unconstitutional? For God's sake, you call a man a youth leader, and you have young men that are in this country that are supposed to head that particular. And you are telling me, is there anything unconstitutional about it?
To be a man.
I'm telling you that I speak to you today, in all developed countries, the guys controlling the economy, the guys controlling the politics, the military are young men. And then the older people are backing them up. But Nigeria, you have elderly people. And that's why Nigeria is not making it. It's a sad situation. And a 60-year-old man being the youth leader in a country where you are telling me of a political party that said they will be here until Jesus comes. For us, I'm interested in PDP.
60 could be young anyway.
60 could be young. Yes, I agree with you, but they are younger men. Who have ideas, bright ideas.
And I'm surprised they're not complaining. The younger ones in PDP are not complaining. That the 60-year-old man is the one who is their youth leader. Then the old men are occupying their own position. They are occupying the position of even the younger ones. So when will our own time come?
If the Bill Gates
of this
generation, if the Bill Gates of this generation were not given the opportunities, the guy who did this Dell thing and all these so-called inventors even the
Obamas of this world,
the Obamas of the world, we are not given the opportunities. They won't come out and present themselves and they see. You see, there are difference between giving them the opportunity to be in the limelight and putting them in the shadows, where whatever ideas they come with, they will just put them down. I tell you, Nigeria could have been better than this. I can be better than this if the young brains are allowed to move. And of course, you can tell us, we gave the Bankoles of this world the opportunity, but that's 1 in a million. Apart from the Meji Bankole, how many other youths we are given the opportunities that Bankole had? Right? So, apart from that, where I'm going seriously is that the environment, the political space can be opened up to allow the youths to take charge. Russia, the other day, we are going down. And of course, they even went down because they never allowed their youths to come to the fore.
Okay, let me just. I mean, you understand the politics of PDP. You've witnessed this politics since 1999, and you know the position of the chairman, the national chairman of the PDP. Some people have said it's like a poison chalice. Look at look back the last 3 or 4 years. They've had about 8 or 6 chairmen. Chairman. You think Bamanga Tuko can survive the end of his till the end of his term?
Well, you see, in Nigerian politics, anything can happen. It's an interesting thing. You'll be on the side of the establishment today, you just take a step, and on the next moment, you're on the other side, and they rubbish you, and they get you out. Vincent Ogbela for, is it Vincent Ogbela for?
Yeah, sure.
Vin now.
Vin.
And then Wodo. I mean,
Wodo. Right? The two of them, see the way they just, because they made one simple statement and that's all, and they just turned around, before you know it, abracadabra, they are off the system.
And I should say
nobody can say
Vincent Obulafo to the last chairman, there were actually 6 persons who occupied that position.
Yeah.
So the position of the national chairman of the PDP is supposed to be for a term of 4 years.
In fact,
as
soon as sorry to rub it in, Bamanga took even this one now. People have some elements from the north are saying that he's a sellout. Jonathan wants to use him for the 2015 plot. What are we talking about? Before you know it now, if he makes any slips, he's off.
No, are you sure? Let me just put it this way, because we have to round up this segment now. You think Bamanga Tuko will be there by 2015?
They always rise and fall at the whims and caprices
of the
president.
All right.
So if he messes up tomorrow, he goes down.
So it's like the president makes you and he breaks you.
He breaks you. They are whim and caprices.
In Edo State, the decision by the labor unions in the country to endorse Governor Adams Oshiomhole for a second term in office is generating ripples. The unions recently held an open-air rally where they all endorsed Governor Oshiomhole's bid to return for a second term. Now, just before the rally, a party had gone to court and claimed that it got an injunction against the holding of the rally. Anyway, the rally still went ahead. The latest twist to the story now is that a group calling itself the South-South Youth League has carried out demonstrations in Benin City, the capital, condemning the action of the unions, that is the NLC and the TUC. Members of the group marched through the streets demanding that the union stay out of politics. But the union leaders have dismissed the group as being sponsored by a political party.
Whereas we are not averse to the NUJ, for instance, the NUJ president, for instance, as an individual, verse if NUJ openly uses his platform to canvass for the political interest of any particular candidate. Forgive my naivety or my ignorance, I probably do not know. But the last time I checked, I was told that NLC was an advocate of the masses and that NLC was supposed to be fair to all. Our thinking was that NLC will create a level playing field for all of the candidates. The future of these young men are at stake. Lord Denning said, and I quote, if you put something on nothing, it cannot stand. And that's what we have come out to say. It is not just democracy. It is democracy and the rule of law. We want to say emphatically that nobody is sponsoring us. For those who already know us, for more than 5 days, we were on the streets at the fuel subsidy crisis. And our brothers at the NUJ gave us the full support. We are the conscience of the masses. We are the conscience of the youth. We are the voice of the nation. And we must consistently speak and speak against any form of wrongdoing. And that is why this rally is called Anti-Endorsement Labor Rally. Joe Aligbe, as TUC president, can take an independent position as an individual. Emmanuel Ademoku can take an independent position as an individual position as NLC president. But to use NLC as a platform, even the comrade Adam that was endorsed, we are aware that all of his 8 years as NLC president nationally, there was never a time that he rallied the NLC to support any candidate at the federal level. True or false? So things must be put on record. What is wrong is wrong. We do not want to be popular. We want to be right. We do not want to be politicians. We want to be nationalists. We do not want to be known. We want to stay on the path of truth, so that when posterity, when history comes, history will have justified us. That all that evil needs to triumph is for good men to be quiet in the periods of crisis and moral decadence. This next election in July 14 is about issues. It's about what each of the candidates, whether you are AMPP, whether you are PDP, whether you are ACN, is about issues. What do you have for us? Hopefully, the youth of this state.
Protesting are agents of either CPC or PDP. They are not workers of the state. Because we are celebrating good governance. We adopted Governor Oshiomhole because he has actually performed well in Edo State compared to the past government or governor we have actually elected, or both military and elected civilian administration. This man who came within 3 years actually done a lot. travel around the entire 18 council, we see footprints in every local government council area. So we are just celebrating good governance because they actually perform well. And secondly, from our constituency, he did disappoint us. I mean, that's why we the Tabaka rollout drones are really celebrating good governance. We didn't adopt, ACN. We pick our own out and we honor him for good. We call it endorsing for the second term. Come soon, come by special grace of God. Come July 14, the entire workers in this state will come en masse and vote for him to return back to government house.
Now, just before my panelists weigh in on that, one more story that will surely interest you. Former Governor of Lagos State, Bola Tinubu, is marking his 60th birthday anniversary. There have been series of ceremonies to mark the occasion. Now, at one of the ceremonies, the current governor of the state, Babatunde Fashola, while giving a speech, praised the man he succeeded in office to the highest heavens and ended with this piece of advice for the former governor. Take a listen to what he said.
As I said, a saint no, but a very good man. There are signs of him that he can improve. And today, I want to tell you what I promised somebody that I will tell you. And I thought I had saved it for private, but I think I should say it in public. You have built a lot of love, much more than you can ever measure. You have built a lot of followership, a quantum of which you may never be able to define. But some of your followers asked me to tell you that they know that you cannot love all of them equally. They know that it is impossible for you to treat all of them equally. That you will love some more than the others. But they asked me to tell you that irrespective of how you love them, always try to do justice fairly amongst them. Your Excellency, very happy because happy birthday. God bless you.
Now, you don't expect that to go without a response from the former governor. This is how Bola Tinubu responded.
I thank God that we can reminisce today. Look at that. Let me give you a quick employment to the Fashola, Chief of Staff. You got a message from my friend and some associates. So let me give you a message back. Express envelope. My God, who created tall, short, and medium people, make sure that every one of them will see God. Every one of us. But you see, I mean, you could see the size of my attorney general. He won taller cases and defeated so many generals. Look at him. Do you blame God for that? So if there's no partiality, you cannot be governor yourself. Tell them. To deliver. Sometimes, these my friends and my will give me that task that I have to exercise quick judgment. So whichever way it goes, sorry. But I've never been sorry about it. Because in my decision with you, I have no regrets. In my decision with Rahul, I have no regrets. In my decision to pursue your state and use Ajimobi, we have no regrets. But they want me to change at 60. But I've done well successfully in the past.
Well, what's your take on that? Let me start with you, Mr. Obani. Yeah, let's start from the last one before we go over to Edo State. What's your take on that?
Well, I must say it with every sense of responsibility that it takes a great man to say the right thing, even when the situation is not very conducive. I mean, for Fashola to have the courage to voice out whatever his associate or whatever he has in mind about the advice that he gave to former governor of Lagos, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, I respect him for that courage. It is very, very important, because most times this issue of hero worshipping, even when you're supposed to tell them the right thing, you lose that opportunity. But I know one day we'll stand before Almighty. For that courage, I respect him. I also look at what Tinubu himself, I mean the former governor, said. Actually, it was actually injustice also that produced Fashola, because there were people that were even before Fashola himself. But what he failed to tell Fashola also, if he had known that Fashola also may have performed better than him, I don't know whether the system would have allowed Fashola to come up. That is my own position about it. If they had known that Fashola would do the little he had done today for Lagos State, I don't know whether the system that produced him would have allowed him. But the position is that Fashola was not the person that would have been the governor based upon seniority, based upon the expediency and all that. So it was injustice actually that produced him.
Could we say in politics, nothing is actually fair?
Well, my brother, well, in politics, most things are unfair in Nigeria, especially in Nigerian politics. He said it here, he said he can't change. I wish that he can change, because even at 60, there is nothing that he cannot change. Because
unfortunately, that's why we've gotten to this pass. Yes. In politics, you see the good one, you abandon the good one, all you want are bootlickers. Those who will continue to hero worship you, your boy, somebody who will continue to lick your boots because you've become a political thing god. And really, he appreciates Fashola. I don't appreciate him. I would have appreciated him if he had done that before the last general election, because he knows that there is nothing at stake now. Haba, let's call it spade a spade. You have told Tinubu right there too, before the elections, that look, I don't like, people are saying this about you.
He wouldn't have been the governor. Look at this man.
That would not be politically expedient.
No, but that's it. It's not politically expedient. But you tell him that we'll not, if you now fail, we'll know that yes, you have spoken the truth. Because the way it is, there's no issue.
Even at this point in time,
the issue is that
the principle is making a very sound.
The principle is, if you say the truth, you die. If you don't say the truth, you die. There's no, Fashola is not going to die in office. He's going to leave office. So why don't you speak the truth? To me, this confession is belated.
Well, to me, for having the courage, even if it's belated, it's better to answer Mr. Late.
Let us leave that. I mean, quite an interesting exchange. Let us go over to Edo State now. I mean, quite interesting what is happening there. First of all, both of you are lawyers, and let me start with you. Is there a law that says labor unions cannot endorse a candidate in an election?
I'm yet to see any such section in the Labor Act itself, or even in the provisions of the Constitution.
No, the Constitution is clear now. You have freedom of association to relate with people.
There is nothing that says that they cannot do that. It's endorsement. It may not translate into voting, and so when the voting comes. But the point is this: I mean, Oshimole was a former Labour leader, and we have even a Labour Party. And what would have been expected that the Labour Party would have provided a platform for the Labour Union to even be strong and probably change the government. But I'm surprised that the Labour unions are not even in Labour Party. And so, if they have decided to do the right thing because somebody somewhere has discovered that a particular man that is a governor of that state is working, there is nothing that takes away my political right as an individual or even as a union leader to say this man is really working. And we are seeing the evidence on the ground. The evidence are so overwhelming that we are supporting this particular person. I also like the man that came on air to us. He was given opportunity by you people to also air his own view, opposing what the union have done and all that. It's all about politics. So whosoever win at the end of the day, has the support of the entire majority. So there is nothing wrong with the man opposing the union. There is nothing wrong with the union endorsing Oshimole. That's my position.
Quite interesting because before that rally took place, I mean, the Labour rally now endorsing Governor Adams Oshomole, a particular political party now had gone to court and said it got a court injunction. Is that proper to go to court, get a court injunction to stop Labour unions from endorsing a particular candidate?
Well, unfortunately, in Nigeria, anything can happen and anything happens. But really, the fundamental issue is that there is a principle of choice. And that's where democracy comes in. There's a principle that it is what you want this, I don't want this. That makes two people who comes from the same mother to have different views. So if you think you don't want some people to endorse some people, all you need to do is to go work on that issue on election day. You see, endorsement does not translate into votes or electoral victory. Election and electoral victory are on election day. Yeah. No doubt, there are some issues that may crop up that you go to the grassroots, to the table, on ground and work yourself. But that's not even my problem now. My problem is that I have been to Edo State, and I don't spare people. If you do good, I'll tell you. If you go to Edo State, the places I went to in Benin, Ura, Auchi, and so on, you see that the man has transformed that state.
Within this short
space. Yeah. And so of course, if you have done well, you deserve a good point. Meanwhile, the man is coming from my constituency, or he came from my constituency. So, if labor and civil societies decide to support this man, it's good. I mean, Poland, what's this guy's name now? Or whatever, the Polish man. I mean, when he started messing up, the civil society people backed out. Now this man is doing well, and of course we want to support him. And there's nothing. It's his constituency, and we have no apology to that.
Something I have to add, because
we have no apology.
We see that in the United States of America during the campaigns, like during the 1998 election campaigns, presidential, we saw unions coming out to endorse candidates.
There's nothing bad in that. If someone is doing a good work, are you telling us that we should? I mean, it's unfortunately in Nigeria that it's only in Nigeria that you change a winning team. You see someone doing something good, you say no, we don't want this. I won't be surprised now if ABGA begins to think how they will remove Rochas.
But what about the point this guy made now? I mean, the guy, that's Leo Olumartins, who led the Youth South Youth League. Now he said, look, as individuals, these labor leaders could endorse this man, they could give him their support, but that they shouldn't use the union, the name of the union.
Can I say something?
There's no big deal about that.
The union, before they may have made that particular endorsement, they must have met and then probably vote on it collectively and say, look, can we do
Fortunately,
this?
It's not a one-man show.
Yeah, it's not a one-man show. So they must have endorsed it at the executive level. And then
Except the man is saying that all those other members who endorsed it are fools.
Of course, he is a member. If he's a member of the entire union and all that, he has the right also to, if the majority is in favor of endorsement of Oshiman, for God's sake, the majority will have their way. The minority will only have their say. So I don't see anything fundamentally wrong. It's not unconstitutional. It is not illegal. It's something that is done all over the world where union can come forward, civil societies, and endorse the man that is performing. It's just like me having gone to a state called Enugu State, and I have seen what this man called Chime is doing. For God's sake, I'm not a member of PDP, and I never loved PDP, but I saw what that man did, and he's doing at this particular. I am so impressed with him.
If you go to Rivers, Rivers State,
and see probably what
Amici is doing. So you see, it's not about party now; it's about the individual their work.
We must endorse them.
We will support you.
We say,
but if you now say because of politics, no, we can't take politics to the realm of just messing up anybody. Giving a dog a bad name.
Can we say here now that even the South Youth League can actually come out and endorse any candidate?
Yes, they can even. They're not stopping them from saying
they endorse their own candidate.
It means by their action, you know where they are coming from. So they must have endorsed their own candidate. So they have a right. It's constitutional.
It's about choice, and that's what we are saying. You say all these things, it makes the whole.
Let there be a free and fair election. That's all. If there's free and fair election, anyone has the right to probably vote his own candidate. It is what we're clamoring for: free and fair election
without no behind the scene manipulation.
There's something I still want you to expatiate
That's
on.
Right. Yes.
I mean that by their actions they have demonstrated the candidates.
Of course, you know where they belong. It's obvious.
If they say that they are not supporting Shomale, obviously they are supporting
PDP candidate.
There is no big deal about that.
Don't be surprised that those guys that came were sponsored by PDP also.
No problem, because to them they assume that Ashomale is the one sponsoring.
But I don't have any problem with them. They have a right.
They have a right. Ours is that.
But in all, how do you see the election? I mean, July 14th in Edo State. How do you see?
The only person contesting
Oshiomale is coming.
Oshiomale
is going to win.
No, not two way.
Mark my words. It's about performance.
Not two ways.
It's not a question of whether the man is performing. And if a man is performing, give him.
He's hacking to Lagos State.
You don't change a winning team.
In fact, don't go too far. In Lagos State, before the elections, the hype was that Adedusumu.
Not even when you consider the fact that the big man from PDP, Chief Tony Anedi,
he was there when Adams won. All right, he was alive and he was strong. I guess he was the board of trustee man.
He was the chairman. So my prayer is that
both of you are supporters of.
When it comes to it's not.
He's my man. So there's no big deal about that.
Of fuel subsidy, he disappointed me. But the point is this: If he comes second term, which I know is already assured, he must begin to perform. Because something is happening in Lagos. Said you all endorse Fashola, but Lagos is not working now. Not since I want to see Lagos work the way it was working in his first term. So Oshinola, you are coming second term. Please, the same way you are working now, work the same 4 years. That is the way we want them to be
out, night and day.
So even when the election is still far away,
the man will win.
You've given it to him.
Well,
I have to thank you both for coming on the program. Thank you very much for your wonderful contribution. Mr. Anyakachi Ubani is a political analyst and also a legal practitioner. Mr. Wale Ogunade, legal practitioner and the president of Voters Awareness Initiative. We want to thank you all for joining us on the program tonight. That's it on Politics Today. We're back again next week. Until then, I am Deji Badimasi. Good night.